Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right. So you may be wondering, Sec Nina Pangandaman supposedly would have been our next keynote speaker, but literally she was called by our president to go with him to an emergency function in Cebu. So sorry about that. Also take note that to complete supposedly our panel, of course, Sec Mina, and we also invited Sec Sunny Angara and the DepEd, which is I'm sure you'd agree that the Department of Education will play a key role in AI development in our country. So with that, I believe we have like 60 or 70 minutes for this loaded panel. So I'll get this started. Sec Rene, Sec Ivan, thank you. Dr. Donald, thank you for being here. So Sec Rene, Sec Solidum, we were discussing for a good 30 or 40 minutes about their programs in the DOST. I did not realize actually, even in being deeply involved in tech or even in the practice of law of tech or fintech, now in AI, that DOST is really much involved in AI. Of course, Sec Ivan, we've been pestering and bothering him almost monthly. So we, of course, with you, Sec Jusel, so we are aware. But now, I guess the purpose of this SONAI to really be able to connect the projects and programs of the government and also of the private sector. So with that, Sec Rene and Sec Ivan, I guess my first question would be, especially for the DOST, there are a lot of programs, sir, that you mentioned with respect to AI, with respect to AI initiatives, or actually this one is a question also for the audience to understand. What, among your programs, there's so many, I'm so impressed actually, what program there does the DOST or the DICT is focusing this year, Sec? Unless you'll say everything is ongoing or it's a priority. But I guess for the benefit of everyone here, what would be the priority on the initiatives this year or in the next 3 to 5 years? And siguro for personally, I really wanted to know also, Sec Ivan and Sec Rene, how does the government, like, how do you work together? The DICT, the DOST. I understand the DTI also launched last year, Doc Donald, their DTI AI roadmap. And of course, the Department of Education is, understand with my own personal talks with Sec Sunny, AI would also play a crucial role, no, in developing education in the country. So first question, Sec Ivan, I guess for the DICT, what, and siguro like, who's in charge of policy making? Who's in charge, who's in charge of development? So Sec Ivan, if you can clarify that, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Mark. Well, there has been a lot of discussions, and so far what we're seeing is that today, AI, of course, we all know, is touching on every aspect
Correct.
of our lives. And what we're seeing is a parallelism of the computerization revolution that we've encountered a few decades back. It was so sexy that every department, everybody wanted to computerize. Everybody wanted to do their ICT projects. And that was good. However, a few decades later, we realized that there has to be some cohesion. There has to be some harmonization, because everybody was doing their own ICT
Correct.
projects, everybody their own. There was no data governance, there was no data harmonization, there were no standards. So they were not interoperable. We cannot put them together. They were siloed, and we could not leverage the real power of technology and computerization. And so, fast forward, that's what we're doing now. We're trying to consolidate. We're trying to provide better data governance frameworks so that all these different siloed government systems can be pulled together and be leveraged to work as a whole. Basically, the left hand talking finally with the right hand. And that's the segmentation that we're seeing today in AI, that parallelism. that it's so sexy that everybody now wants to do AI, and they're all doing their own thing in AI. Because it's relevant and it really enhances the mandate of every agency when they are AI enabled. So our role as DICT is, I think we need to put them together. We need to provide the governance framework in order to ensure that each department, while they pursue their AI initiatives, are focused on collaboration, are focused on leveraging everybody's efforts into our common goal of developing our economy, ensuring that our future digital workforce will be competitive, will be relevant in the new economy that will be AI enabled. So that has been the framework that's coming out internationally. Like for instance, the ASEAN has come out with a resolution recently that that basically directed all the digital ministers to lead the governance, the framework,
Correct.
and to provide now, AI safety, AI directions for inclusivity, for growth, for equality, and help everybody else in that governance. And then, of course, there are other agencies like the DOST that really has the capacity to do the really high-tech research on how AI can be leveraged in any particular use case, industry, and develop them. While DTI is looking at AI in the sense of how do we become competitive in the
DTI.
world? How do we incentivize investments in the AI arena in order to leverage this technology to make us globally competitive? So everybody has their own use, but we in the DICT is trying to put everybody together in terms of the framework, the governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Sec Ivan. Sec Rene, very nice slides, no? And I saw, of course, the one of the last slide is, of course, the role of the DOST, specifically on research and development. But if it, of course, for our new comers, if you can expound more on the role of the DOST with respect to your project and programs and in relation to AI. Sec.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, DOST is such a very large organization.
Yes, sir.
In terms of number of attached agencies to it, we have 18.
80.
18.
18. I thought.
And then 16 regions, and we're covering all provinces. We have 80 provincial science and technology offices. And each 18 attached agencies will have their own mandate. And to make sure that we all work as one and in support of the President's agenda, as mentioned earlier in my presentation, we focus on 4 major strategic pillars, and R&D AI can be utilized in all. And first is, again, to promote human well-being, to have a longer and better life, to create wealth out of R&D and the application of science, technology, and innovation, to really use R&D and application for us to be safe from natural hazards, climate change, and other man-made risks. But we also need to make sure that our livelihood, our businesses are protected. Before kasi, we focus too much on saving lives, but not the livelihood. So the wealth protection pillar is very crucial for us, and sustainability. We have science, technology, innovation framework for circular economy, where we obviously will work with the industry. Now, given this 4 strategic pillars, and in support of the government's agenda, we don't only have the researchers or the network of researchers, but we also are funding researchers. So we have 3 councils that oversee the road mapping of the various sectors. We have the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic, and Natural Resources. So they also have an AI program there.
Right.
We have the Philippine Council for Health, Research and
Health.
Development. All R&D are lodged there by law. And the Philippine Council for Industry, Energy, and Emerging Technology. The third council would be like a catch-all council if it's not under agri or health. Now, they have their own funding scheme, but the Office of the Secretary would also have a grant aid. If we combine this would be able to fund significant projects. But our focus now is really on working closely with the industry. That's why this event is very important, so that we can really make an impact to our economy by addressing industry-related issues. Now, our hashtag is one DOST for you. If you're an industry, we have many other agencies that are related to the industry. We have the Industrial Technology Development Institute, textile we have, nuclear science, we have the metals and engineering. So we have advanced laboratories. We have the most advanced center for 3D printing in the Philippines. We have the advanced failure analysis for electronics and semicon. So all of these are available for use. Now, we want to establish the AI hub for R&D, but it's not only one. We are providing support to different universities to improve their facility by providing high-performance computing capabilities. We have been funding 8 universities, and we want to establish more so that AI application can be done all over. I don't believe in just one single hub. And so for this year, we are implementing the AI for weather forecast to improve the forecast for Pag-asa and to have it more granular, shorter time scale, and more advanced in terms of forecast. And we are also establishing the hub by adding more computing power for our high-performance computers in DOST. And hopefully, we can have more industry DOST partnership or university partnership this year. And so we have a call for proposal, not only for the university, but also for government agencies and the industry. So if we can do that, then we'll have more focus on AI for improvement of productivity and, of course, commercialization. Now, to focus on commercializing what we have, the DOST has launched DOST program Propel, where we will have 12 facilities integrated into one, where technology producers and investors can actually discuss and promote more startups and spin-offs. And so we have been attracting many groups already. They're interested. But in the Philippines, which might not be a very big market, we can also think of what do we have in the Philippines that when we developed it can be applied all over the world. So we thought of also focusing on climate resilient technologies. Tayo ang laboratory ng mga disaster eh. So if we have a lot of developers and we can develop these technologies, then we can actually export it. In fact, one of the projects that I led when I was still at FIVOX was the GeoRisk Philippines initiative. It has now the power to automate planning for recovery. And we're helping other departments to also automate their planning for human settlement, how to prepare, how to develop safe schools. So Filipinos can actually be recognized globally, and we can develop homegrown applications to be global.
Dr. Donald, we go to you. Probably your comment on the private sector as our representative here. Of course, we have a lot of audience here in the private sector. So how can in your view, how can the private sector create synergy with all of these AI-related initiatives and probably regulations, upcoming regulations of the government?
Attorney. I'll comment first on what Sec Ivan said, no, regarding governance. I think that's so important. No? I believe in decentralization, right? Everyone doing everything, but later on you need some form of centralization. So to put order, because everything cannot be too decentralized. This may be a bad example when earlier was introduced, no. Parang I used to be head of ABS-CBN Digital. That time it was very new. That time Facebook was very new. So I remember my boss that time, Charo Santos. Okay, let's experiment on Facebook, social media. Everyone can open a Facebook account. So overnight, in a month's time, we had like thousands of Facebook accounts for every show, every segment, every broadcaster, every celebrity. It was a nightmare because some are hacked, some created gone to 5,000, 10,000 followers, likes, then they did not do anything about it anymore. So it's actually extremely chaotic, right? So I think that time it was the principle of let 1,000 flowers bloom, just throw it out there. But I think what you realize was that you need to put a certain level of order for everything to move in the same direction, right? And that time, that's why when I was head of digital, no more opening of Facebook pages, only through me. I will with my signature, and that's why you have to craft an architecture. You have to create the rules of governance, and everything else. And I think I'm looking at the same with AI. You're seeing private sector running on their own, and then I'm looking at the OST, so many projects already, and I first time, I mean, every slide was like, wow.
Oh.
Okay, so what's happening? And then I sat through, because I'm also part of the academe, I saw some pitches by a lot of students, not here, but wait, similar. And then you look at the private sector all saying also, I have this idea, can we
Right.
do this? So it's all disconnected, everyone running around doing something. I think for us to win this AI battle, we have to consolidate in one way or form. I think we have to find and consolidate our energies. I was trying to absorb what Sec Solidum was saying. I think there's no such thing as you master AI for everything. I think we can decide on which pillar or vertical or industry that we can be really experts on and own it, right? And I think that should be also a focus on the private sector side, right? So of course, sabi ko, I was thinking earlier, Chat GPT was there, and then you have DeepSeek and everything else, no? That was very much, ano ba, in our earlier days, Yahoo, right? Yahoo, and then Google and everything coming about, or even Friendster. Alta Vista pa. Okay. Di pa buhay nun. Hindi, buhay na ako nun. Okay, but Alta Vista and everything, right? There's a natural progression of technology. But what you see is that which technology moves forward. It's really some sort of organization. I think, back to the question, I think the government putting a lot of research on certain things, right, can only go so far because the industry has to make it a real product, has to make it in good use, how to commercialize it. I think maybe all of us are guilty that we don't talk to each other a lot. I think the private sector should engage the government more in terms of policy. Maybe we should create, I don't know if there is an AI working group. I'm a firm believer in really PPPs, no, public-private partnerships, in whatever scale, not even on the legal or the commercial side, but really as a principle where both of us would come together. I think maybe the Global AI Council, along with the advisors, can have monthly forums, 1 hour, 2 hours. What are we doing? We can present to our colleagues in the private industry and then see what we can take on to scale up. And scaling up doesn't have to be with a multinational company. In fact, we can even work together with a multinational company and a local small or medium enterprise and really bring it to market together. So, I mean, a lot of opportunities, but we have to put a certain level of order. No? And I think the private sector should also take a more aggressive role rather than being diffused. Each of us, I'm sure, have all AI initiatives. But then sabi ko, the government should be telling us, because you see also, on the private side, theoretically we compete with one another. So you should be the ones telling us also, actually you're doing the same. Can you just work together? Because sometimes we don't. Right?
Correct. I think Doc Donald, it's basically literally the purpose of this SONAI that we organize together with the council, our fellow board members. Now I'll proceed to the next topic, which is procurement. So Sec Ivan and Sec Rene, and for everyone, I understand on a high level that the recently passed new Government Procurement Act requires procurement or procuring government agencies to take into account sustainability and product life cycle criteria when acquiring product and services. So Sec Ivan and Sec Rene, what should be the ethical, social, and environmental factors that government agencies should take into account when procuring AI systems? And what government services do you think would benefit the most from procuring AI systems, and how should the private sector approach or pitch to these government agencies? Sec Rene, you want to start?
In the DOST roadmap, included various considerations. On the ethical side, we think that
The procurement of AI must align with responsible AI principles, ensuring fairness, transparency, and accountability. In our roadmap,
ethical AI development is really high in our agenda, particularly in healthcare, governance, and disaster risk reduction. I'm the chair of the board of trustee of the only high school system in the Philippines that is not under DepEd, the Philippine Science High School. And we have AI guidelines already for the students. For social consideration, we think that AI must be inclusive and equitable, addressing the digital divide challenges in underserved communities. I remember the discussion we had in the Group of 77 in Havana, Cuba, that this digital divide was highlighted by many countries. And this can actually, AI and other ICT softwares can actually be an avenue where advanced countries will be more advanced and more economically better than other countries. So we need to make sure that in our application of AI, it must be serving all. And we have been doing this, as even sari-sari stores are now are being taken care of by a startup company. Now, for environmental considerations, we know that AI procurement should adhere to sustainable computing practices, considering energy consumption and carbon footprint. So I don't think a lot of agencies will be able to handle it. But for us, we focus on R&D and also applying AI to improve productivity and, of course, to improve our economy through startups and innovation. The government services that would benefit from AI, there will be a lot. And especially the big systems like for health. Kung saan may mga maingay na balita. sa procurement abroad and passing through our different systems. AI, blockchain should be combined and other things.
Correct.
So healthcare, resilience, transport, logistics, urban planning, agriculture. I think where we need the most assistance right now because of the challenges that we face as a society, not only as a country but globally. So again, health, agriculture, disaster resilience and climate resilience, transportation and urban planning, agriculture, logistics.
Basically everything. No. Sec Ivan, thank you, Sec Rene. Sec Ivan, yeah, on add.
Well, Sec Rene has already expounded on the items that you mentioned. I just want to supplement it by also explaining that for AI procurement, we need to also ensure that we eliminate biases.
Correct.
And uphold fairness, no, in our procurement. Equally critical is, of course, security as well as privacy of data. So those systems have to ensure that the public's data privacy is upheld and adhere to our data privacy standards and laws. So other than that, Sec Rene has already talked about sustainability and about ensuring that it does not exacerbate the digital divide, but be more inclusive in its application. Thank you.
Thank you, Sec Ivan. Doc Donald, so I'm sure you know among our audience here are either tech or AI founders or even startups. So given the cost of procuring and maintaining AI systems, how can the private sector, how can we ensure value for government stakeholders and end users for their AI products and services?
for one thing, I think we have to, again, I go back to working hand in hand. Before, dating ourselves, I used to sell websites. Diba? So when you go to, in circa 2005, 2006, 7, 8, right, we sell websites. We tell government, important magkaroon ng website. Although wala naman masyadong Pilipino gumagamit. Pero who can argue if it's important or not?
Right.
Right? Who can argue? Siyempre, important yung you have a website. But that's 2007 and 8. I think we are in this state now where AI can solve everything. Right? So you have a lot of the private sector always coming to, to the government. We have something to offer. But the reality is we need to have quick wins, number one, and we need to also have AI that, what I call AI that really works. AI can solve everything in theory, but there has to have, it has to have, exponential impact. I think we have to focus on what really matters. For example, like what Sec Rene is saying, I think healthcare is very important, right? Traffic management, maybe. We're looking at disaster response, very important. Cybersecurity is also very important. Those are, for today, we need AI to solve those problems now. So I think the private sector should focus on all of this rather than selling parang sari-sari store. Okay, lahat of pwede, we can solve any of your problem. Can you tell us what you need help on and we will help you? I think there has to be a collaborative effect. No? At the same time, in many cases, we all know also budgets for tech is always the lowest in a way, because how can you compete with the healthcare? How can you compete with education, with all the important things that the whole of government is thinking of, right? Tech would be, okay, hindi pa naman obsolete, let's wait next year. And that's why I think maybe the private sector should also find a way if they can also co-invest, again, PPP can be, or a build, operate, transfer model, or whatever, to keep the risk of government low, right? But at the same time, once it succeeds, we will both mutually benefit. No? So I think it's really more on working with government, identifying very specific verticals, right? And really solving that problem together using AI.
Thank you, Donald. So from discussing the use of government of AI products and services, we go to the other side. We talk about funding and incentives. As you all know, this month, now, again, US President Donald Trump announced the $500 billion Stargate initiative to strengthen the US lead in AI. Meanwhile, as you all know, China's DeepSeek and other state-backed initiatives signal a growing global AI race driven by, as mentioned by Donald, public-private collaborations in other countries. Ganito, ganyan yung style nila. So this is addressed to either Sec Ivan or Sec Rene. The question is, how can our homegrown, most of them are here, homegrown AI startups avail of government funding, if there is? And what other forms of government support and or incentives can they also enjoy?
Kaya siguro hindi umaten si
Sec
Sec Mina.
Mina, correct. The DVM.
Yes. Well, I think in the budgeting process, we all of us are presenting our own respective AI initiatives on this. And as I said, what we've noticed is just they're all fragmented. So we still need to sit down in order to put some form of cohesion in all these activities that all the different departments are going to. We're doing that as of the moment, and we're working with a lot of AI policy experts that are helping us formulate the right infrastructure, the right framework in order to ensure that we are able to maximize all the opportunities and do not result in over-regulation that will stymie innovation. Because it's critical that the innovation continues and it's even enhanced. But so that striking that balance is a very delicate matter, and we need it not only to formulate that governance framework, but ensuring that it is agile enough that we constantly have our ears on the ground, because this technology is moving so rapidly, evolving, you know, giving us so many surprises every turn that we make, that it should be agile enough to be able to adjust very quickly to that landscape.
Thank you, Sec Ivan. Sec Rene, you want to add anything?
Yeah, the DOST has a startup grant fund. Um, Again, we have three councils: agriculture, aquatic natural resources, health, industry, energy, and other emerging technologies. This would be proposal driven. Of course, the funding is not limitless, so it
Of
has to
course.
be competitive. And we select, we evaluate the startup and see if they really can uh, earn profit. Now, some startups that we have assisted, after more than 3 years, and they're okay, but needed more technologies in their company, then we have another funding called Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program. Depending on their proposal again and based on feasibility analysis, we can fund up to 5 million pesos. But we also have other support. We have the support for R&D, support for technology transfer and commercialization, and even human resource institution development. I think we focus too much on the technology, but DOST also offers scholarship for undergraduates, masters, and PhD. And even those in the industry can apply for graduate program support for masters or PhD. We also have balik scientists that are able to spend some time in the Philippines. Short term is from 15 days to 6 months. Medium term is 6 months to 1 year, and longer term is 1 year to 3 years. And some actually balik scientists have decided that they will set up companies and permanently stay in the Philippines. So there are a lot of opportunities, not only for the startups, but also for the industry.
Thank you, Sec Rene and Sec Ivan. I think that was very useful, especially to our founders and startups here. Doc Donald, so about you, in your view as a part of the private sector, how can, aside from that, or probably you
Yeah.
can add, how can the government, you think, best assist? Is it really funding,
Yeah.
education? How to incentivize the private sector to engage in AI?
I think the government should serve as a catalyst and enabler, having seen more and having experienced more. But very clear, for example, is if you can create for example, an AI economic zone. So you house all of the
Oh, AI.
AI companies there. I remember in the year 2000, there's a UP Ayala Techno Park somewhere, right? In
There-
UP, no? In UP, di ba? Yung
in
kanto ng
Diliman
Ayala,
ata,
right?
yeah.
So they have a techno park where they incubate. That time, all tech, I don't know what happened there. But we maybe have an opportunity to do something now that we're more digitized and we see value in that.
Can I add to
Yes,
that?
yes, go ahead.
DOST and PEZA has already signed an agreement to develop knowledge, innovation, and science and technology parks in universities.
Within universities.
So-
universities.
May pilot.
Yeah, so we will evaluate the applicants, pass it on to PEZA, and then they will evaluate. And then the president will finally approve which university, if okay, will be considered as a KISS park under PEZA. But we will support. So we have been discussing with some universities already. Even private universities are offering to be a KISS park, especially.
So the university will become an eco zone.
Yes. And that is better because now you have the professors,
Yeah.
the students,
Yeah.
you have the human
Correct,
resource,
correct.
the value chain
Yeah.
for the company.
And later on, the private sector can come in, invest.
And they can
and
come in
put- yeah, they
anytime.
come in.
Once
Oh.
the university is designated as a KISS park.
Yeah. Okay.
So far, the only KISS park approved is Batangas State University.
BSU, yeah. Okay. I think that's a good example, Attorney Mark, what Secretary said. No, I think the eco zone, Techno Park, is something we need to at least spur.
Right.
Again, in this room and maybe outside, we're seeing so many AI mom and pop boutique companies, 5 of them, 10 of them, but they don't know where to go, what to do. They know tech, but running the business, marketing, whatever they have, that's a whole new challenge altogether. And in fact, and that's why it has to work hand in hand with the private sector. The private sector will also have to see this has all the potential to go global. I'll fund you also half of that, right? And let's make it. And you know, they've seen more also from a global perspective. They can bring it to market. So I think we need to have, you know, for the past 20 years. I mean, most of you who are in science tech, right? We need a real unicorn from ground up, right? I think India has thousands, US has thousands, right? But we're waiting for the Philippines from employee one who has really made it to unicorn status. We have yet to see one. No? And I think hopefully with AI we can get that going.
Thank you, Doc Donald. Now we go to our next topic I think really to drive the point, Donald, no, with respect to collaboration with the private sector. So everyone, given the massive funding and technical skills needed to support the growth of the AI industry, as we have noticed here today, the private sector has been, of course, crucial in spearheading AI capitalization, talent acquisition, and development. Sec Ivan and Sec Rene, based on your various meetings, meetups, conventions around the world with the president, of course, what lessons, opportunities, and challenges do you think can the Philippine government adopt from the global market in terms of working with the private sector to advance the local AI industry?
Okay, when I became the Secretary of Science and Technology in 2022, my first order of business is to ensure that our research and development proposals have the market perspective or a business development perspective. Because in many countries that I've visited, the research groups, they have an embedded business person, business development officer. In some universities, they have a researcher half paid by the industry, half paid by the university. So the private-public sector initiative is very important. It's not simply academe and industry. Government has to be there to facilitate. If our scientific community is already advanced, then academe and industry would be okay. But now, government has to be there. And this is what we have been doing at DOST. As mentioned earlier, we have the Cradle project, which is a collaborative R&D to leverage our economy cradle between the private sector and the research institution. So we are the government facilitating the interaction. But we also need more scientists and engineers. That's why we are focusing also on our human development. We hope that we can really talk to various industries so that we can also support the upskilling of their employees, which is another issue now with AI and many other advancements. So we need to upskill our employees. But we also need to have some agility and flexibility in our educational system. We need to transform both our primary and the higher education institutions to be more in tune with the current technologies and focus.
Thank you, Sec Rene. Sec Ivan, any challenges or lessons that you can share with us that we
Well,
can adopt?
Well, currently, as I mentioned, there is no regulatory clarity.
Yes.
Yes, in the AI governance framework. So we need to work on that. And I think today's forum really focuses on addressing that particular gap, no. And we need to ensure that what's happening with respect to the industry and the way the government's role in helping industry be more focused on the development of AI and how AI can be really leveraged for the country. So we are working to help formulate that that framework that is badly needed today uh, in this very very disruptive technology.
Quickly, Donald, any comment on that before we go to the next slide?
Of, Mike. On top of funding, I think funding is a given. One of the things we can always consider, now, if you look at how EU and UK are doing it, they have what they call public data sets. A lot of AI companies are starting up. Beyond the tech, there's also the data. In many cases, they do not have access to any data. So for example, I want to create a healthcare app. Where do I get the data to test from? EU, UK, all of that, they have what they call public data sets. I don't know if we can have a what I call an AI open data initiative or something where these public data we can use, and of course we mask it, right? So there's no personal information, but we can mask it so that our AI scientists can work on them already. No, I think there's no rule yet on data, on how we like eGov has so much data and everything, but we're not touching that, no. But I think maybe there, we can mine certain data sets already.
Yes. Well,
Y- yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, on top of that, of course, we need to address the apparent talent gap that's happening everywhere in the world. But the impact of this technology on our local talents, I think, would be critical in ensuring our competitiveness in this arena. And well, uh, as has been mentioned by Donald, uh, the the data is very important because as I said in my speech, it's the fuel that drives the AI engine. And we're seeing so much Western bias. 99% of digital data are in English. Barely 1% of global data are in any other language. So just recently, I attended the ASEAN Digital Ministers meeting in Bangkok, and it was shown they asked AI to produce an image of pad thai, and what came out was
Pad.
spaghetti
Okay.
with shrimps and lime and some cilantro on top, because the yes, because it the AI recognized that pad thai is some kind of a noodle, and pad thai has shrimps and all of those things. So it was really spaghetti with all of that. So you can see the bias in the data because the source of the digital data are all Western, and that's what we're trying to build today. The Middle Eastern countries are converting a lot of our data to digital format. We in the Philippines need to generate more digital data that are reflective of our culture, of our values. Uh, the challenge there is you need to be able to feed data that is relevant so that the AI will be able to produce the output that is more balanced, that is more inclusive. Uh, One of the examples that was raised in one of the forum I attended in the Middle East was when they asked the AI about, let's say, gender or about marriage or divorce. The AI responded based on the values of the Western world, and they did not like that answer because in the Middle East they expect an answer that will be more in consonance with their values,
Correct. The culture.
with their perspective on marriage, on divorce, on gender, and so that those are the kinds of bias. So we're hoping that by generating more localized
Data.
digital data, then the AI products will be more reflective of what we are looking for, and that it will provide perhaps options. So it will give you an answer that okay, in gender there is a train of thought in the on liberal thoughts
Mhm.
that considers these things on gender. However, in other countries where these are the values, this is the way gender is perceived. So it's not just a singular thought that is expressed, but a more inclusive one. Thank you.
Thank you, Sec Ivan. To the point of Sec Ivan, Sec Rene, in relation to AI governance, data governance, and I guess as my final question to you and Doc Donald to close, no, I understand Sec Ivan has to go in literally 4 minutes. So, Sec Rene, to close, as of course as AI continues to evolve, how can like regulators and private sector leaders work together to ensure that while innovation thrives, while of course maintaining robust safeguards against risks such as biases, misinformation, to the point lang of Sec Ivan. How do and job displacement? How can regulators and private sector work together to close lang Sec Rene? And of course, I don't know, concrete steps do you think should be prioritized in the next 5 years to strike this balance effectively?
Well, at DOST, as mentioned in my speech, first we need to look at addressing challenges. One is the lack of AI talent and related
Correct.
subject. So we need to really develop our human resources. So we provide scholarships for this for undergraduate, masters, and PhD. Second is on the lack of data sharing.
Correct.
The DOST, I also mentioned it, we will establish the geospatial analytics database. First, to gather all data by DOST, 18 agencies and its network, and it includes many sectors, so that we can actually offer this for research and do our own analytics. For example, our performance in learning, PISA score, for example.
Right.
We need to look at malnutrition and stunting, healthcare service, social protection, teacher competency, disruption of school classes, travel time. Do they walk? Is there a transport?
Yeah.
So there are many things that can be analyzed so that we can actually develop intervention at the family level. In fact, one of our PhD students is looking at individual learning development using these technologies. But beyond this, we need to make sure that we look at risks
Yes.
when using AI. We look at AI bias detection and mitigation. So that's why we're also trying to develop our own ChatGPT in Filipino vernaculars. And if you notice, my presentation also included different AI in different languages to learn the languages, so that we can really build our own AI ChatGPT, so that we can actually cover the whole of our different regions. Now, lastly, let me just say that we want to have stronger policies on AI, and this has been mentioned, especially intellectual property protection for AI-generated outputs, privacy by design principles in AI data collection, national security measures for AI datasets, so we have to make sure that certain data are not exposed. And we need, of course, to collaborate with the ICT, National Privacy Commission, and many other agencies, and of course with the leadership of the ICT here.
Thank you, Sec Rene, Sec Ivan. Donald, to close, what do you think on the side of the private sector? How can regulators here in the private sectors, us here leaders, how can we work together to make sure to strike this balance with respect to misinformation, bias, job displacement, so on and so forth?
We're seeing already an AI arms race. Balik ulit sa China versus US, right? So there's an AI arms race. But what is happening in ASEAN and all of us, no? Magalatak na lang eh. Kung anong mangyari, we just follow, di ba? We use all of what they're doing from a technology perspective.
Should not be.
And that's not wrong, but I think because we don't have the machinery, the budgets, or that certain reality, I think what is important is for us to, again, go back to, I really believe in private-public real partnership, not on the commercial sense, but really working together, having a technical working group, sharing data, learning from one another, identifying certain verticals where we can be an expert in. I think before, the year 2000, we rode the BPO wave, right? I started. That was easy because it was natural, English, right? So we rode it, that's why we won, right? But now, question mark, di ba? But the AI, it's not English anymore. speaking of tech is very different. And I
Right.
think going back to upskilling, AI languages, understanding tech, if you ask any Filipino, baka nga ano, wala pang 1%. Not even 1% can really speak, no? I was in a talk, all CEOs and managers, in all companies, who here are using AI in their company? 90% raise their hands. Okay, AI in their company, but not ChatGPT. No one. Ubus na. Right? So because they just associate ChatGPT, AI na ako, ah. Right? No, it has to, AI is something that has to drive business value, has to solve a business problem or a life problem or humanity problem, right? And you can only do that when we all work together. Rarely would a company dominate that, eh, right? So I think, again, we have to open this more discussions between the government and the private sector. But hopefully this SONAI will start, no? It's the start of something good where we can all capitalize on.
Thank you. With that, thank you, Secretary Ivan Uy of the DICT, Secretary Rene Solidum of the DOST, and Dr. Donald Lim of the Global AI Council Philippines. So I hope you found that useful for our first panel. Salamat, and I'll see you around. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much for the
sir.
very insightful panel. Let's give them one more round of applause, please. To the two secretaries, may I please invite back on stage our Board of Trustees, as we also offer a token of appreciation to our esteemed secretaries who are helping shape the future of AI here in the Philippines. Maraming salamat ulit.